So today I'm going to be talking about some possibilities to why fish in this ecosystem is dying. Um, my name is Emily Hamilton. So one of the chemicals I chose as a possibility would be fuel oil. It can be transported to lakes and marine ecosystems through several ways, some being trucks that are transporting the oil and it leaks out, pipeline spills, and it is fairly common. 11 oil spills happen per month in the US alone. And this isn't even counting long-lasting oil spills that slowly go into the ecosystem and which does still have a severe effect on the community. So how does this oil affect fish? There's several different ways that it negatively impacts these fish, some being through fin erosion, enlarged organs, reduced growth, negative impacts on the heart and heart rate, so changing their heart rate, and all these can be fatal, especially when it affects the heart. This also causes fish eggs to not hatch. There have been several times where when these oil spills are being cleaned up, when it's a severe oil spill, when all these oil spills are being cleaned up, they'll find several fish eggs that didn't hatch because it was a fatal spill and it killed them basically, and lower reproduction rates. So next we're going to talk about the chemical structure of fuel. It consists of crude oil and natural gas. And then to break that down even more, crude oil consists of alkanes. An alkane is characterized by single bonds. And the majority of natural gas, so going on to the next component of this, natural gas is made up of methane, ethane, propane, and butane. There are lower amounts of ethane, propane, and butane. It is mostly composed of methane when we are talking about natural gas. And then I did include this picture so you can kind of have a visual of how it does look when the structure is broken down. So how exactly does this fuel enter the body of these fish? So first it does accumulate on the body and the tissue of the organism, which then can seep into the body. Just like if you're sitting in water, your skin is going to soak up that water, which then will affect your body. Then when the fish also take in that water through their gills, they are taking in those chemicals, and it is entering their system, which then can affect anything in their system, their organs, the heart, the liver, lungs, you name it. It can affect all of that negatively. Now, how does this pollutant interact with the cells? So I just stated how it interacts with the body, and that goes hand in hand with how it interacts with the cells, because this is specifically how it's damaging the organism and preventing these fish from reproducing, from just living normal, healthy lives. First, it does alter the filaments and cause cell death. So right away, it just doesn't allow these cells to live out normal cell lives. It depletes antioxidants, which hand in hand results in membrane and DNA damage. Now, when this DNA is damaged, that causes errors in the genes and inability for these cells to essentially repair themselves, again causing death of these cells. And then the organisms impacted including that mitochondria and that DNA. Next are the metabolic processes affected. So first, the DNA metabolism, which is maintaining that DNA, allowing it to work as it is supposed to. And of course, with this oil, the DNA is damaged and it doesn't allow repairing, and it causes a lot of errors in the DNA. which then can result into enlarged liver. It can result into several different things that then just causes the whole body to kind of break down. And the DNA is targeted, which then causes errors in the cells and other cells to die off. Now, enzymes that are interacted with the oil. So DNA polymers duplicate, and essentially what this enzyme does is duplicate genetic information, and then primase, which creates primer on the DNA strand, which essentially is just adding that RNA to the strand. The reason it does interact with these is because these two enzymes interact with DNA. So this whole process is kind of twisted and changed, and errors occur. The body isn't functioning as it's supposed to when this oil is introduced into the body's system. Now, what may have caused the problem? Essentially, this question is just stating, how did this oil happen? Why is this happening? Why is there oil in the system in the first place? Several different ways. Oil extractions, so people essentially just getting oil for different companies. It ends up in the water. Natural seeps aren't as crazy as like oil spills and stuff like that. It is more long term, but it still does damage. Trucks, so when trucks essentially transport this oil, there is a large possibility that this oil is going to spill, and then it's going to end up into the water some way, somehow. And then pipe spills, just how it sounds, it spills from the pipes. And then again, some way, somehow it does end up in the water, which is much more easier done than explained. It's much more easier than one would think for this oil to end up in the ocean, because it just takes one little route, and then there's a big abundance of oil in the water, and of course it's going to affect all the organisms in that water, because there's no way of escaping it. No organism can run away. It's like if we had pollutants in the oxygen we breathe. And then of course the citations. These are the two articles that really helped me out in this presentation. And I really loved and enjoyed all of the facts in these two articles, and I really recommend them.